Well, I've returned to New York where it is windy and cold. There was a call for flurries today. There was the chance of snow, but just a couple days ago, I was in sunny and warm Houston, Texas, where my second cousin got married. It was a Hindu wedding, and I don't go to a lot of weddings, but I really wanted to go to this one for sentimental reasons connected to a specific relative, the groom's grandmother, who I loved very much, who passed away just a couple years ago. She was a very well-known Vina player. The Vina is a South Indian instrument, and she was not only a well-known player, but she was kind of a famous teacher. My mom knew about her when my mom was young. When my mom was learning the Vina as a girl, she had a teacher, and there was kind of like my mom's teacher was well known, and then there was another, not a rival, but there was another teacher of equal footing, and that was this lady. So many years later, the Tamil community is quite small, and my mom married my dad and ended up discovering eventually that this lady was a part of the family. I liked her a lot, and I went to Sri Lanka a couple times by myself, and I stayed with her. Sundara Lakshmi Selvaraja was her name, and I just called her Amama, which means grandmother. So this was her grandson, and he reached out and invited me personally to his wedding. The last time I saw him was when he was 2 years old. I remember carrying him in my arms, and now he's getting married. Well, now he got married. So I went to the wedding, and he got married to someone that is not Sri Lankan or South Indian, but Gujarati. And I found it very interesting to see that some of the customs, the rituals during the ceremony were different to the way South Indian Tamils and Sri Lankan Tamils have a wedding ceremony. But it did make me reminisce a little bit about all of the weddings that I've been to over the years, all of the Tamil weddings that I've been to over the years. I posted some stuff to social media, and there was a comment from someone saying, I've been to 2 Hindu weddings and they were both very long. And I had to laugh because I thought, if you think a wedding is long, how about a marriage or raising children? And it made me, it just was amusing to me that was the comment, that they were very long. They are very long. A Hindu wedding can be 3, 4, 5 hours long. Usually about the ceremony is like 3 hours long. But that comment made me think about something that I actually thought about during the ceremony, because when I'm sitting and watching one of these ceremonies, it can drag on, and it can feel tiresome and long, but I often have to remind myself of why I'm there. And why I'm there is actually very beautifully connected to the central focus of a Hindu wedding, which is energy. Most Hindu ceremonies involve an element from nature, fire. Fire is at the center of many Hindu rituals, and in a Hindu wedding, the fire is the most, a wedding cannot happen without the fire. The sacred fire. And no matter if it's outside or in a temple or in a banquet hall, there is always a real fire. I love this a lot because it is a reminder of how ancient this tradition is. This religion, these practices have been unchanged for thousands of years. I was recently at the Brooklyn Museum to see this show on Monet, and I wandered into the Egyptian section of the museum, and I had it all to myself, and I was wandering around and looking at everything, and I yet again was reminded of how similar those Egyptian bronze deities are to the bronze deities that exist in Hinduism, that are still being worshipped and revered, and that symbolize things. So the wedding and these rituals, they involve the elements in a very primeval way. As it was in ancient Egypt, it's still going on in Hinduism today. So at the center of the ceremony is fire, and the fire is energy. And when I think about going to a wedding, if I feel inside like I've been invited to a wedding and I don't really want to go, I don't go. And the main reason I don't go is because I do believe that when you're invited to something as important to those two people as a wedding is, that grammar is really bad. I'm tired. It's really important to those two people, and they're inviting you because they want you there. In Hinduism, your presence is requested, but more than a gift, the real thing that is being asked is for you to bring good energy to this occasion. And whenever I think of that aspect of a wedding, especially a Hindu wedding, good energy, I do think of this very simple prayer to Lord Ganesh, to Pilayar, a poem, a prayer that was written by one of the most famous poets in Hinduism, 6th century, I think. Her name was Avayar, and the prayer begins, Vakundam Nallamanamundam. Vakundam is beautiful, eloquent speech. That's the first thing that you're asking Ganesh. The next thing is Nallamanamundam, a good, healthy mind. Manam to me means more than just mind. Manam to me means feeling. Your manam. This is also the beauty of Tamil, which is the oldest language, still spoken unchanged since ancient times. So these words, while they have so much beauty to me, they also hold significance because of how old they are. And Menam, I don't think Menam has a direct translation. Anyways, Nella Manamundam, with a good feeling inside, or a good core. That's, I think, closer to it. What is going on out there? Let it pass. Chaos in New York City. Core. Inside. Not just mind. Nalla manamundam. With a good intention, feeling inside. I think that is the most important thing to take to a wedding. Nalla manam. Good feelings. And that's why if I don't want to go to a wedding, I just really don't want to, I don't. Because I don't think it's right to go and to take any ill feeling. To be sitting there, if you know it's going to be long and you're just thinking, when is this going to be over? This is dragging on and on and on. I don't think that's good. I think there should be fewer people there, but those fewer people all have good intentions for the ritual that is taking place. That is what I would want if I was getting married. If I was undertaking this very sacred act that is rooted in energy, I would want every single person that was there to have nalamanam, good feelings and good intentions for me and the person that I was getting married to. So I was thinking about this when I sat there, just watching. But then I was also thinking about the beauty of the actual rituals themselves. There's such beauty in the tradition, and again, most of it is connected to energy and good intentions. At the core of the ritual is this fire, and the fire in Sanskrit is Agni, and the ritual that is taking place is an Agni Sakshi, and Agni Sakshi means fire witness. The fire is witnessing what is taking place. And in Hinduism, so much of Hinduism is connected to science. Fire is the purest sort of form of cleansing, and I think that's the same in Judaism. Cleansing, sterilizing, starting anew. Fire represents the supreme truth. Fire represents a sort of universal reality and opposites, because what is here right now, if it goes through fire, we might think it's destroyed, but it is not destroyed. It's turned into something else. And often that something else is the opposite. Like a tree exists, it catches on fire, it burns, it's destroyed, the ashes go into the ground, and then that actually in turn creates another tree. I was thinking of this the other day. I need to go get it. You all know what this is. Beeswax candle. And it was like this. And where did it go? Where did this wax go? It didn't drip all over the table. So it's gone. And the thing that made it disappear was the fire. And we know scientifically that the fire on a molecular level turned the wax into something else, and that's the energy. It's the light and the heat. And to create that light and heat, it required fuel, and that's the candle. I do think that we can see this, so we understand it and we accept it. This makes sense. We believe this. We trust this. But I don't think that it is silly or la-di-da, hippy-dippy, whatever, to believe or to assume that the energy from here is insignificant. Or I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility, or that it's weird to think that this energy is significant. That's what I meant to say. That it actually has the ability to do things, to affect things. And in the Hindu ritual, like I was just watching this take place, the chanting is done in Sanskrit. Every now and then there was a word that the priest was saying that I understood. One of the things that the priests invoke are the sacred rivers of India. Some of those rivers have dried up thousands of years ago and don't even exist now anymore, like the Saraswati River. But the Ganges is a river that people would know. The Kaveri River still exists. They have in the sort of the accoutrements around the fire, there's always a brass vessel called a chembu, and the chembu has water in it, and then the chembu, above the chembu, there's a coconut sitting in the chembu, and around the coconut are mango leaves. Those are all symbolic of things, and the water in the chembu signifies the water from the seven, I think it's 7, sacred rivers of India. So it's amusing to me to recognize some of the things that the priest is saying. But beyond that, it is an invocation of energy, and the couple that is unwed is undertaking these rites to enter into something that is supposed to be for the rest of their life. So there are a few things in the Hindu ceremony that I love. The first thing that I love, which actually didn't take place in this wedding because I think it is a South Indian thing, and it's connected to the clothing. The groom is sitting at the altar. The bride shows up in a sari that was given to her, or that was purchased by her family. And then, as the ceremony starts with the priest, the groom's family gives a sari to the bride. So this thing is folded up, and this sari is her wedding sari. And it is traditionally a red sari, and it's called a koorai, Koorai, a koorai sari or a koorai sele. And the koorai sari, which is folded up and put onto a beautiful brass platter, is taken around by a family member to all of the guests. So the ceremony's going on, the priest receives the koorai sari, and then someone ushers it away, and while the ceremony continues, because it's 3 hours, someone takes it from person to person in the audience of maybe 100 people, and each one of those people touches the sari and touches their eyes. And what they're doing is they're supposed to be blessing the sari. This is given to the guests as an opportunity to give your good wishes, your good intentions to the bride. I really love that. And I was a little sad that didn't take place here, because the clothing, I think, of a Northern Indian wedding is different. It's not a sari. It's a different garment. So, but in most of the weddings that I've been to that are Hindu weddings, I love watching that. I love watching the sari come around and everybody touching it and touching their face. And then the sari is taken to the altar. The bride leaves, and the bride changes her clothes. This is also why these things take so long. She changes out of the sari that she came to the altar in, into the sari that the groom has gifted her, that has been blessed, and wearing this new garment, which is now hopefully infused with all of the good wishes and the energy from every single person that has come to the wedding, she returns to the altar and sits back down to continue the ceremony. I love that. The next thing that happens, I might be getting the order of these mixed up, that I love, is something called the Saptapadi. Sapta is 7 in Sanskrit, and Padi is steps. And is it Sanskrit or Tamil? Because in Tamil, Padi is also the word for steps. But Saptapadi are the 7 steps. And these, the ritual is done different ways. Sometimes it's 7 actual steps. Sometimes it's 7 perambulations around the sacred fire, around the Agni, the fire witness. And these 7 steps, or the 7 paces, they represent the vows that the couple is making to each other. And I wrote these down because I didn't want to miss any. The first is nourishment and care. The second is mental, physical, and spiritual strength given to each other. The third is prosperity, wealth, and accomplishments. And this is not monetary, it's prosperity and wealth of the family, of your life together, that you are wealthy with your joy. And then the fourth is happiness and harmony. The fifth is virtuous and strong children. The sixth is faithfulness and longevity. And the seventh is lifelong partnership based on love and trust. And I think that this is paraphrasing. All of these things in the Vedas, the scriptures that are recited during this ceremony are very complex. So around that fire, the couple walks, and that Saptapadi is the most important part of the wedding. It's upon completion of the 7th step or the 7th round around the fire that the couple is actually married. There's one more thing in the Hindu ceremony that takes place, and that's the literal tying of a knot. In Hindu ceremonies, they don't have a ring, as in Western ceremonies. They have something called a Tali, and a Tali is a necklace. The real sort of old version of the Tali is a cotton string that is yellow from turmeric, and on that thread there is a gold amulet, and the gold amulet is a very specific shape called a Tiru, and the Tiru is the supreme goddess, and that gold pendant on the thread is put onto the bride's neck by the groom, and at the back it's tied 3 times. And there's something about it being tied once by another family member, like the sister or something. But that tying of the knot is another very important part of the Hindu ceremony. And that amulet, the Tali, is something that's supposed to never be taken off. It's an amulet to protect her, to ward off evil. So those are just 3 of the parts of a Hindu wedding that I love. It's also a visual spectacle, and it's a visual spectacle because colors are very auspicious in Hinduism. Colors mean different things and invoke different kind of energies. Red and yellow and orange are auspicious colors, and that's usually what you will see the priest wearing as his vutti, his loincloth, one of those colors. And then the bride is wearing her red sari. So, and then the guests also are dressed in colorful garb, and there are certain colors that should not be worn, like black. Black is a color you will not see, or you should not see, at a Hindu wedding. In fact, also at a funeral, like a real Hindu funeral, black is also not supposed to be worn. Black doesn't really exist. I mean, it does exist. Anyways, I shouldn't talk about things I'm not completely certain of. So, but black is not a color. I know that for sure. Black is not a color that you wear to a Hindu wedding. This is what I wore, which is why I'm wearing it now. This is what I wore on the 2nd day. I wore a cream color. It wasn't white. It was a cream colored top and my purple dhoti. I wore this to the night before, which was another function connected to the wedding. It was a beautiful thing. It took place at a temple in a very rural part of Houston. I've never been to Houston, so I was kind of shocked to drive up to this temple that really looked like something from South India, with the beautiful open concept with courtyards, and it was lovely to see some old relatives again. You know, the wedding, the Hindu wedding, is one of the few opportunities for traditionally for ladies to really get dressed up, like it's a formal occasion. And I'm not speaking about sort of modern times, but I mean sort of even there are large parts of our community where many women still stay at home. They're housewives, and their functions are these cultural functions, and the opportunity to get all dressed up is really only for a wedding. Now they have sort of fancy birthday parties. A lot of Tamil people have fancy birthday parties for their children, which is like a formal affair. But when I was growing up, the only real formal occasion was a wedding, and I had certain sort of obscure aunties, like distant relatives, that I knew. They stayed at home. Their husbands went to work. Some of them didn't speak hardly any English at all, and they cooked and they cleaned. And when a wedding would come along, it was sort of their time to shine. You know, they would take pride in getting a new sari and putting their jewelry on, and just kind of being out to socialize. So I think of that when I thought of that when I was at this wedding. Times have really changed. It's not the same anymore, but culturally, it's a very important social function, a Hindu wedding. That was my time in Houston. If you're invited to a Hindu wedding, know that it's going to be long. And just remember, the most important thing that you should be taking to the wedding is your Nella Manam.